The door locks from the outside. That's when you learn what kind of room you're in. Not a meeting, not a negotiation, a setup. I'm sitting calm like I don't notice the two men behind me shifting their weight. Like I don't hear the soft click of a bolt sliding home. Like I don't feel the air change when a third man, quiet shoes, expensive breath, steps into a place he didn't pay for. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't have to. He walks like the building owes him rent. You always show up alone. He asks. I look at him. I look through him. Same way I look at a chessboard when somebody thinks they're about to surprise me with a move I already counted. Depends, I say. You always bring extra hands for one conversation. One of the goons laughs like that's funny. It is. The man in front, slick hair, clean cuffs, eyes that stay smiling even when the mouth tilts his head. I like insurance, he says. Harlem's full of accidents. That's true. Harlem will trip you then help you up only to check your pockets. I keep my hands on the table, empty, open. That's not surrender, that's control. He pulls out a folder like we're in an office, like the walls don't sweat, like there isn't a back stairway that leads to basements where people stop being people. He slides the folder toward me, slow, respectful. Respect is a costume too. Some men wear it better than others. Inside is a single sheet, a receipt, a bill of sale. Names, numbers, and a signature that means someone got bought without ever being asked. And in the corner, a photograph. Not posed. Not proud, just caught. A woman sitting in a chair with her shoulders folded inward like she's trying to disappear into her own bones. Head wrapped. Eyes open. Not begging, not pleading. Watching. I don't like what I see because I know what I'm looking at. A product. The slick man taps the photo like he's pointing at a new car. She's the answer, he says. A guaranteed line around the block. I don't touch the paper, not yet. Answer to what? I ask. He smiles just enough. To my problem, he says, and to your future. I lean back half an inch. That's the most movement I give him. You don't even know me, he says like he's offended. I know your type, I tell him. You sell a dream and leave the bill on somebody else's table. One of the goons shifts closer. He wants permission to do something stupid. That's the danger in rooms like this, men who can't think trying to impress a man who only thinks. The slick man raises a finger without looking back. The goon freezes. That's real power, not volume, not rage, just a small signal that makes another man's muscles obey. He sits across from me. I'm building something, he says. A stage, a brand, a legend. People love legends. People love what they're told to love, I say. He nods like we agree, like agreement is the same as trust. She's special, he says. Old, frail, a walking piece of history. He says that last word like it's perfume. I keep my voice even. How old? He pauses, then gives me a number too clean to be true. Over 100. I don't blink, that's where he slips. Because men who buy human beings always want you to focus on the fantasy. The number, the story, the costume, anything except the fact there's a living soul under it. You ever see a person that old, I ask, who still has that look in their eye? He doesn't answer. He leans in, lowering his voice like he's sharing a secret between businessmen. You know what the crowd pays for, he says. Not truth, not pain. They pay to feel something without the risk. He taps the photo again. She sits, she talks, they clap. Everybody goes home happy. Everybody except the one in the chair. I take a breath, slow, measured, because if I let emotion show, he'll mistake it for weakness. Men like him only understand two currencies, money and control. So what's the pitch? I ask. You want me to invest? He smiles wider. He thinks he's almost done. I want you to protect it, he says. Your neighborhood, your influence, your reputation. I want you to make sure nobody interferes while I turn her into a miracle. There it is. He isn't offering me a seat at the table. He's offering me a role in his lie, a uniform. And in Harlem, uniforms get people killed, whether they're police or pretenders. I glance at the door, still closed, still locked. You don't lock doors for partners, I say. He shrugs like it's a minor detail. I lock doors for decisions, he says. Some men need privacy to choose correctly. I look back at the photo. That woman's eyes aren't asking for salvation. They're counting time, counting breath, counting how many men will touch her life like it's property. And my stomach goes cold because I can already see the next step in his plan. First he'll dress her up, then he'll starve her down, then he'll aid her with little cruelties nobody notices until it's too late. And when she breaks, he'll sell the break too. That's how monsters stay clean. They call the damage business. The slick man watches me, patient, confident. "You're quiet," he says. "That usually means you're thinking." "It means I'm listening," I tell him. He leans back, satisfied. "Then listen good," he says. "I already paid for her." I keep my face still. Paid who? That's the question that matters, because in Harlem, people don't just get sold. They get delivered, and deliveries have roots, names, helpers. I look him dead in the eye. "Where is she right now?" I ask. His smile fades a little, like a curtain slipping. "In a room upstairs," he says. "Resting." Resting, that's what they call it when somebody can't leave. I stand slowly, not rushed, like I'm doing him a courtesy. The goons tense. The room tightens. The slick man raises his hand again, subtle. They hold. He studies me. "You gonna make this difficult?" he asks. I straighten my jacket. "No," I say. "You already did." Then I nod toward the locked door. "Open it," I tell him. He doesn't move. And that's when I realize the real trap isn't the lock. It's the fact that whatever is upstairs is already in motion, because men like him don't wait for permission to hurt people. They just need someone respectable enough to keep the neighborhood quiet while they do it. He leans forward, voice low. "Last chance," he says. "You walk out with me or you walk out alone." I hold his gaze. In my head, the board is set, and the next move is going to cost somebody something they can't buy back. The only question is who pays first. The stairs creak like they're tired of holding secrets. I take them slow, not because I'm scared, because rushing tells people you don't belong. I've learned that patience opens more doors than force ever could. Behind me, the slick man follows. Not too close. He wants space in case this turns ugly. Smart, but not smart enough. Halfway up, I smell it. Not rot, not yet, something weaker, thin soup, old cloth. Fear that's been sitting too long in a closed room. I stop. He almost bumps into me. "Problem?" he asks. "Yeah," I say, "you lied." He exhales through his nose, irritated now. "I said she was resting." "That's not rest," I tell him. "That's waiting." He doesn't answer. That tells me everything. We reach the door at the end of the hall. No sign, no guard, just a handle polished by hands that don't get thanked. He reaches for it. I stop him with one finger against his chest. "You open it," I say, "but you don't talk." His jaw tightens. He nods once. The door swings in. She's smaller than the photograph. Always is. The chair is wrong for her body, too stiff, too straight, like it was built for display, not comfort. A shawl hangs off her shoulders like it gave up halfway through the job. Her feet barely touch the floor. She looks at me immediately. Not startled, not hopeful, assessing. That's when I know she hasn't been broken yet. Her eyes move the way mine do in rooms like this. Counting exits, measuring men, storing details in case memory is all she gets to keep. I step inside. The slick man stays at the door, pretending this is still his stage. "You're not part of the show," he says softly to her this time. "Just sit." She doesn't look at him, she looks at me. "You here to buy?" she asks, voice dry, steady, "or to watch?" I don't answer right away. That silence makes the slick man nervous. He hates anything he didn't script. "I'm here," I finally say, "to understand." She studies my face like she's reading fine print. "They always say that first," she says. I nod. "That's true." Her mouth tightens, a smile that isn't a smile. "Then they start changing things," she continues. "Food, light, how long the chair stays under you." The slick man clears his throat. "She's confused," he says. "Age does that." She turns her head just enough to look at him now. "You took my teeth yet?" She asks him calmly. The room goes still. Even the walls feel like they're listening. He laughs once. Sharp, fake. "Of course not," he says. "Don't be dramatic." She looks back at me. "He lies early," she says. "That's how you know it's coming." I feel something shift behind my ribs. Anger, yes, but measured, controlled, the kind that waits. How long you been here? I ask. Long enough, she says. Shorter than he promised. Promises again, always promises. I glance around, the bowl by her feet, barely touched, water cloudy, she eating. I ask him. Enough, he says quickly, she answers first. Enough to stay upright, she says. Not enough to stand. That's the line, that's the math, I turn to him. You starving her down, I say, softening her up. She needs to look the part, he snaps, losing polish now. People won't pay for ordinary. She's not ordinary, I say quietly. She's trapped. He bristles. Careful, he says. You're getting sentimental. No, I tell him. I'm getting clear. I step closer to the chair, lowering my voice so it's just for her. What's your name? I ask. She hesitates. Real hesitation, not performance. The one I got now, she asks. Or the one I had before people started selling it. I meet her eyes. The one you answer to, I say. She considers that. Joyce, she says finally, for now. For now, I repeat. Behind me, the slick man snaps. That's enough, he says. You've seen her, decision time. He steps between us, reclaiming space. You protect this, he says. You walk away rich, or you don't. I look past him at the chair, at the woman whose body is already being negotiated like future inventory. You know what your mistake is. I ask him. He scoffs. Enlighten me. You think this ends with applause, I say. You think the crowd claps, the money stacks, and everybody forgets. I step closer until he has to tilt his head up just slightly. But games like this, I continue, they don't end clean. They rot from the inside. Somebody talks, somebody breaks, somebody bleeds. His smile is gone now. You threatening me? He asks. I shake my head. I'm warning you, I say. There's a line you don't cross in my house. This isn't your house, he says. I glance around the hallway, the building, the block beyond it. It is, I say. You just didn't know it yet. From the chair, Joyce speaks again. You see him, she says to me. You see what he's building. I nod once. Yes, I say, I do. She exhales slowly. Then don't wait, she says. They never do. The slick man steps back toward the door. Think about it, he says, forcing calm. You've got time. I watch him retreat. No, I say, you do. He freezes. I don't raise my voice. You've already been seen, I continue. Already been counted. Every move you make from here costs more than the last. He stares at me, trying to decide whether to believe that. Downstairs somewhere a door slams. Voices, too many footsteps, his eyes flicker. I smile, not kind. Next time you lock a door, I tell him, make sure you know who owns the building. He backs out, the door shuts. Not locked this time. Joyce looks at me, searching. What happens now? She asks. I look at the chair, the bowl, the narrow window. I look at the whole board. Now, I say, someone's going to panic. And panic makes men sloppy. I turn toward the door, already knowing the next move won't be quiet, because men who sell suffering don't stop when challenged. They escalate. And when they do, somebody always ends up on display. Panic doesn't announce itself. It leaks. It shows up as hurried footsteps on stairs that used to move slow, as whispers that stop when you enter a room, as doors that don't quite close all the way because someone forgot to breathe while pulling them shut. I hear it before I see it. 3 blocks away, word is already traveling, not shouting, sliding from mouth to ear, from hallway to hallway. The slick man didn't leave to think. He left to call people. I stand by the window with my back to Joyce, watching the street below. A wagon rolls past too slowly. 2 men on the corner pretend they aren't watching this building. One of them keeps touching his hat like it's a signal. They coming? Joyce asks. Yes, I say. She nods once. No fear, just confirmation. Good, she says. I'd hate for him to think I mattered so little he didn't fight for the money. That lands heavier than anger. I turn back to her. You know what he plans next, I say. She shifts in the chair, joints complaining. He'll hurry, she says. That's when they hurt you faster. Less talking, more fixing. Fixing what? Doubts, she answers. They always fix doubts. A knock hits the door. Not polite, not loud, controlled. I don't move. The knock comes again, harder. Joyce watches me. They won't ask twice, she says. I know, I reply. I open the door halfway. Two men stand there, not the earlier goons, different cut, older eyes. These ones don't enjoy violence. They're good at it. Boss wants a word, the taller one says. I already spoke to him, I answer. He wants another, the other replies. Behind them, the slick man appears, jacket off now, sleeves rolled. His confidence has sharpened into something brittle. We need to clear something up, he says. I glance at the men flanking him. About what? I ask. Ownership, he says. Interference. I step aside so he can see the room, the chair. The woman, Joyce, lifts her chin. Morning, she says. The slick man ignores her. You don't get to walk in here and rewrite contracts, he says to me. That's not how this city works. I nod slowly. You're right, I say, it's not. Then I close the door behind him. That makes his men uneasy. They don't like being shut in. Neither do I, but I control it better. You brought muscle, I say. That means you already decided how this ends. He scoffs. I brought witnesses, he says, in case you do something regrettable. Joyce laughs, soft, dry. Witnesses to what? She asks, me sitting. The taller man shifts his stance. He's uncomfortable now. He wasn't told there'd be talking. The slick man steps closer to Joyce. You don't understand your position, he says to her. You are an asset, a fragile one. She looks up at him. So are you, she says. Difference is nobody else pretending I'm free. Silence stretches. He turns to me. This is going nowhere, he says. You walk away, I move her tonight. New location, new arrangement. I don't answer immediately. Instead, I reach into my coat. His men tense. I pull out nothing dangerous, just folded paper. I hand it to him. He opens it. His face changes, not shock, recognition. It's a list. Names, payments, signatures, routes. Every person who touched this deal, every hand that took money to look away. How did you? He starts. I listen, I say, same way she does. He flips pages faster now. This doesn't mean anything, he says, but his voice is thinner. It means everything, I tell him, because this city runs on reputation, and yours just got fragile. He looks at Joyce, then at me. You think this saves her? He asks. I shake my head. No, I say, I think it traps you. He laughs once sharp. You gonna parade me? He asks. Make me the villain? No, I reply. You already did that yourself. He steps closer, lowering his voice. You touch this, he says, and I'll ruin you. I lean in so only he hears me. You already ruined someone who couldn't fight back, I say. Now you get to see how that feels. Behind us, Joyce speaks again. Before you go, she says. We both turn. She's gripping the arms of the chair, knuckles white. You should know something, she tells him. I won't last the winter. His eyes flicker. And when I don't, she continues, you'll sell that too. You won't even pretend to mourn. She looks straight at him. But you won't control how it's remembered. He opens his mouth. I cut him off. She leaves tonight, I say, not with you. That's not your call, he snaps. I smile slow. It is now. The taller man shifts again, once, twice. Boss, he mutters, this don't feel right. The slick man hesitates. That's the crack. He came in thinking he owned the room. Now he's realizing the room has opinions. He backs toward the door. This isn't finished, he says. I nod. No, I agree. It's just moving to the part where people start choosing sides. He leaves, his men follow. The door closes. This time I lock it. Joyce exhales like she's been holding her breath for years. You got enemies now, she says. I look at the door. I already had them, I reply. They just showed their faces. I kneel in front of her. We're moving you, I say, quietly. She studies me. And the show, she asks. I hold her gaze. The show's over, I say. She smiles. A real one this time, small, painful. Men like him don't stop, she warns. I stand. No, I say, they get desperate. Outside, a whistle blows. Sharp, coded. I glance at the window. They're not done. They're regrouping. And the next move won't be about money. It'll be about making an example, which means the clock just got louder. The whistle outside isn't for help, it's a marker. Someone just told the street where to look. I pull the curtain back an inch, that's all it takes. 2 men on the corner now, 4 across the street. A wagon that hasn't moved in 10 minutes suddenly has a driver sitting upright. They're building a net. Joyce watches my face. They're setting time, she says. Yes, I answer. And space. She nods. That's how they always do it. I move fast now, but not loud. Fast and quiet is how you survive when people think you're cornered. I slip my coat off and drape it over her shoulders. Heavy wool. Expensive. It changes how people look at you when you walk past them. Can you stand? I ask. She grips the chair arms and tries. Her legs shake, but they hold. For a moment, she says, don't waste it. I respect that. She's telling me not to gamble with borrowed strength. I signal once toward the hallway. A man appears like he'd been waiting his whole life for that cue. Tall, calm, eyes that don't wander. Backstairs, he says, 2 minutes before they seal it. That's plenty, I reply. He moves to Joyce without a word, lifting the chair like it weighs nothing. That's important, not making her feel like cargo. As we step into the stairwell, voices rise outside. Louder now, confident. They think we're still debating. I like when people think that. Halfway down, Joyce grips my sleeve. If I don't make it out, she says. You will, I answer. She shakes her head slightly. If I don't, she repeats, don't let them clean it up. I won't, I say. That's a promise, she insists. I meet her eyes. On my name, I tell her. That settles her. The back door opens into an alley that smells like old rain and bad decisions. A car waits, engine already warm. No headlights. She's inside in seconds. I don't get in. She looks back at me, confused. You're not coming, she asks. Not yet, I say. I need to make sure they follow the wrong story. The door closes. The car pulls away. And now I'm alone, which is exactly what they want. I walk back inside, slow, deliberate, like a man who has nothing left to protect. The front door bursts open before I reach the stairs. The slick man storms in with more bodies this time. Too many. That's panic, that's overkill. Where is she? He demands. I don't answer. One of his men runs upstairs. A shout follows. She's gone. The room changes instantly. No more pretending. The slick man's face hardens. You think you won, he says. I think you're loud, I reply. He steps close, invading space. You just stole from me, he says. You embarrassed me. I lean in. No, I say softly. I reminded you that some things don't belong to men like you. His hand twitches. That's when the first punch comes. Not from him, from one of his men who couldn't wait. I take it clean. Let my head turn just enough to sell it. Then everything breaks. Chairs slam, glass shatters. Someone hits the floor hard enough not to get back up. I don't rush, I don't swing wild. I move like this matters. Because it does. When it's over, the slick man is against the wall, breathing wrong, his jacket torn, his confidence leaking out of him in shallow gasps. I straighten my cuffs. This is where you stop, I tell him. He laughs, bloody. You think this ends me? He spits. No, I say. I think this teaches you. I step back. And men like you, I continue, learn slow. Sirens sound in the distance. Not close. Not far, enough to make decisions urgent. I turn to leave. Behind me, he calls out. You didn't save her, he says. You just delayed the ending. I stop at the door. I don't turn around. You're wrong, I say. I changed who controls it. Outside, the street looks normal again. People walking, laughing, pretending nothing almost happened. That's how danger survives, blends in. As I disappear into the block, I know one thing for sure. He's not done. And neither am I, because once a man learns he can't own something, the next thing he tries to destroy is the truth. And that's a much uglier fight. Truth moves slower than lies. But when it moves, it doesn't need permission. By morning, the block is quiet in the way that means everybody knows something and nobody is saying it out loud. Windows open a little later. Conversations happen behind hands. Names don't get spoken, just nodded toward. That's when I know he's already working. Men like him don't sleep after losing control. They plan. They reshape. They turn loss into leverage. I step into a back room off Lenox where favors are remembered longer than debts. Two old men are playing cards they're not betting on. One looks up. He's telling people you kidnapped her, he says. I nod, expected. Calling it protection, the other adds. Saying you crossed a line. Smile faintly. That means he's scared, I say. Across the city, Joyce is hidden somewhere quiet. No posters, no lamps, no strangers breathing down her neck. Just a room, clean sheets, and a woman finally allowed to close her eyes without being watched. But safety like that makes men nervous, especially men who built their future on her staying visible. By noon, the rumor shifts. Now she's sick. Now she's unstable. Now she begged to leave and won't last a week. That's the soft kill, the reputational one. I sit with a cup of coffee I don't drink and listen to it all. He's lining up doctors, someone tells me, respectable ones. Of course he is. When force fails, they bring credentials. By evening, the invitation arrives, folded, formal, heavy paper meant to feel important, a public examination, a final clarification. His words, not mine. He wants a stage without calling it one. White coats instead of curtains, science instead of spectacle, same knife. New handle. I stare at the paper for a long time. This is the move he thinks saves him. If Joyce appears weak, confused, dying, then everything he did looks necessary. Compassionate even, and if she doesn't appear at all, he'll say I hid her because I was lying. That's the trap. I fold the paper and stand. That night I visit Joyce. She's thinner, still, but her eyes are clearer than they've been since I met her. They're coming, she says before I speak. Yes, I answer. She nods. They always do. I sit across from her. He wants you on display again, I tell her. Different words, same cage. She doesn't flinch. What happens if I don't go? She asks. He wins the story, I say. You disappear into his version of events. And if I do, she asks. I hesitate. Then it hurts, I say honestly, but you control the ending. She looks down at her hands, scarred, thin, real. All my life, she says, men decided when I was useful. She looks back up. Not this time. The decision settles between us like something heavy and final. We'll do it, she says, but not his way. I lean forward. Then we change the rules, I say. 2 nights later, the room is full, doctors, reporters, men who clap only when it's safe. The slick man stands at the front, dressed somber, respectful, already mourning something he plans to profit from. He's smiling when Joyce is wheeled in. Then the smile hesitates, because she isn't dressed like an exhibit. No shawl, no props, no scripts, just a woman sitting upright, eyes sharp, hands steady. Alive in a way he didn't budget for, the room murmurs. He opens his mouth to speak. She raises one finger. Before you begin, she says calmly, I want to talk. That wasn't agreed to. I watch his jaw tighten. This won't take long, she continues. I won't give you stories, I won't perform. She looks around the room. I just want you to see me before they explain me away. Silence. The slick man steps forward. This is highly irregular. She cuts him off. So was buying me, she says. A few heads turn. Not applause, something more dangerous. Attention. And I realize, watching his control slip piece by piece, that he didn't just miscalculate me. He misjudged her. Because the most dangerous thing in any room is a person who no longer needs to be believed to tell the truth. And that truth is about to cost him everything he thought he owned. The only question left is how ugly he lets it get before he realizes the game is already over. The room doesn't know what to do with her. That's the problem. They came prepared to observe a subject, not listen to a person. White coats stiffen. Pens hover, unsure whether to write or retreat. The slick man's smile freezes like a bad painting left in the cold too long. Joyce lets the silence work. She's learned that skill the hard way. I won't be long, she says again, steady. I don't have the strength for long. That lands. Even the doctors feel it. She turns her head slowly, making eye contact. One by one, not pleading, claiming. I was promised care, she says. I was given hunger. A pen scratches. I was promised rest, she continues. I was given a chair. The slick man clears his throat loudly. Ladies and gentlemen, he interjects, this is emotional distress speaking. Understandable but not factual. She looks at him. Did you order my meals? She asks. He doesn't answer. Did you decide how much water I was allowed? She presses. Still nothing. Did you tell them to make me look older than I am? She asks quietly. That one ripples. A doctor shifts his weight. Joyce nods to herself. That's what I thought. She exhales, the effort visible now. They want to explain my body, she says, gesturing faintly. Cut it, measure it, use words that make pain sound clean. A murmur rolls through the crowd. But before they do, she adds, I want it said plain. She grips the arm of the chair. I am not a miracle, she says. I am not a curiosity. I am not a story you paid to touch. Her voice wavers for half a second. She steadies it. I am a woman who was worked until she was tired, she says, then sold for being tired. The slick man steps forward sharply. This is enough, he snaps. This demonstration is suspended. Too late, a reporter in the back raises his hand, doesn't wait. Sir, he calls out, did you restrict her diet? The slick man points. You, he barks, you'll print what I give you or. Another voice cuts in. Is it true, a doctor asks, cautious but curious, that her condition worsened after extended daily appearances? He falters. Joyce watches him fold. This is not about blame, he says, scrambling. This is about understanding age. It's about control, she says. The word lands heavy. The room turns. I stay where I am, shadowed near the wall. This isn't my moment. Power is most effective when it knows when to step aside. Joyce closes her eyes briefly. When I die, she says softly, don't say it was age alone. That makes people uncomfortable. That's good. Say it was wear, she continues. Say it was use. She opens her eyes again. Say it was allowed. Silence thick, final. Her strength runs out all at once. Her shoulders slump. The doctors move instinctively now. Real concern, real urgency. The slick man backs away, sweat visible at his temples. This isn't his stage anymore. As they wheel her out, she looks at me once, just once. That's enough. By morning, the papers won't agree on what happened. Some will say she was brave. Some will say she was confused. Some will say nothing at all. But none of them will say she was invisible. The slick man will survive this. Men like him usually do. But he'll never sell certainty again. Because every time he tries, someone will remember a woman in a chair who spoke when she wasn't supposed to. And him, standing there, unable to stop her. I step out into the night as the crowd disperses, already spinning, already forgetting parts they don't like. But I know something he doesn't. He thinks the danger has passed. He thinks the worst thing that happened was public embarrassment. He's wrong. Because the most dangerous consequence hasn't arrived yet. The street heard her. And the street has a long memory when it decides what a man is worth. It doesn't ask his permission. The street doesn't react right away. That's how you know it's serious. No shouting, no rush, just a slow recalibration like a city adjusting its spine. For 2 days, nothing happens. That's when the slick man makes his biggest mistake. He thinks silence means forgiveness. By the third night, I hear it from 3 directions at once. Routes changing. Doors closing early, money refusing to move. A man like him lives off flow. When the flow stalls, he suffocates. I'm standing outside a bar that used to welcome him like royalty. Tonight the music cuts when he walks in. Not dramatic, just practical. The bartender doesn't look up. We're closed, he says, wiping a glass that's already clean. The slick man smiles tight. You've got paying customers. The bartender finally meets his eyes. Not you, he says. That's when it starts to hurt. By morning, his drivers quit. Not loudly, just don't show. By noon, his landlord wants cash up front. By evening, 2 of his investors ask for meetings they don't plan to finish. He comes looking for me after dark. Of course he does. He finds me where he shouldn't, on a stoop that belongs to people who don't like strangers asking questions. He doesn't bring muscle this time. That's desperation. You did this, he says, stopping just short of the light. I don't move. You gave her a microphone, he continues. You poisoned my name. I look at him. No, I say, you did. I just turned the volume up. His hands shake now, just a little. You think the street decides morality? He asks. You think this is justice? I stand. This isn't morality, I tell him, it's memory. He scoffs. They'll forget, he says, they always do. I step closer, lowering my voice. Not when it costs them money, I say. That's when fear finally reaches his eyes. Call them off, he says. Whatever it is you started, call it off. I shake my head. I don't start things like this, I tell him. I just know when they've already begun. A car rolls past slow, too slow, he notices it too. You think I won't survive this? He says. I always do. I lean in. Maybe, I say, but you won't look the same. He swallows. What do you want? He asks. I consider him for a moment, really look, then I say it. Nothing, I reply. That breaks him more than any threat could, because men like him understand deals. They don't understand consequences that don't come with negotiations. I step back into the shadows. Behind me, he stands alone, realizing something too late. He didn't lose a fight. He lost permission. And in this city, that's the only thing keeping men like him alive. Somewhere across town, Joyce sleeps. Not well. Not easy, but not owned. That matters because the street is still watching, and it hasn't finished deciding what comes next. Permission doesn't get revoked with noise. It disappears quietly. That's the part that scares men like him the most. A week passes, then another. No invitations, no partnerships, no rooms where his name opens doors. He still walks the streets, still dresses sharp, still smiles like a man who expects the world to cooperate. But the world doesn't look back the same. I hear things. A deal that died because a signature never came. A shipment that sat too long because nobody wanted their hands on it. A favor returned with silence instead of gratitude. That's not an attack, that's isolation. He tries to pivot, new language, new causes. He talks about reform now. Care. Responsibility. He donates money where cameras can see it. Too late. Men don't get forgiven for what they revealed about themselves. One night I get word Joyce isn't doing well. Not dramatic, just fading. I go to her. She's thinner again, breathing shallow, but her eyes still track me when I enter. They still talking. She asks. Yes, I say, not the way he wants. She nods, satisfied. Good, she whispers. Means it's stuck. I sit beside her, no speeches, no promises this time. You scared? I ask quietly. She thinks about it. No, she says, just tired of being useful. That hurts more than fear. She reaches for my hand, light grip, like she knows strength is a resource you ration near the end. He'll try something, she says. Men like that don't leave empty. I know, I reply. She looks at me. When he does, she says, don't stop him for me. I meet her eyes. I won't, I say. That's not cruelty, that's respect. Outside, the city hums, always moving, always hungry. 3 nights later, the slick man makes his last play. He leaks a story, not loud, not direct. A whisper that Joyce was never sick, that she exaggerated, that the whole thing was manipulation, that I staged it. It's clever, almost works, almost. Except he forgets one thing. He taught people to look closely. And once people start looking, they don't stop where you want them to. Questions resurface. Old receipts. Contradictions. The whisper turns into scrutiny, and scrutiny turns into heat. I see him one final time from across the street. He's arguing with someone who used to call him brother. Voices low, hands sharp. Then the other man walks away. Leaves him standing alone under a street lamp that flickers like it can't decide whether to stay on. I don't approach. I don't need to, because he finally understands what's happening. This isn't revenge. This is gravity, and gravity doesn't hate you. It just pulls. Back at Joyce's room, dawn breaks pale and quiet. She hasn't moved in a while. I stand there longer than necessary. Outside, somewhere far off, a siren cries and fades. The city keeps going. But something is about to stop. And when it does, the story won't belong to the man who tried to sell it. It'll belong to the silence he couldn't control, and to the people who heard it. The room is too still. That's how I know before anyone says it. No breath catching, no small movement. Just that quiet that doesn't belong to sleep. I step closer. I already know what I'm going to see, but knowing doesn't soften it. Joyce is gone, not dramatic, not violent, just finished. Like a sentence that finally reached its period. I stand there a long time, long enough for the city outside to cycle through its noises twice, long enough to understand that whatever justice looks like, it never shows up on time. A woman comes in behind me. She checks what she already knows, pulls the sheet up with care. "She didn't hurt," she says softly. I nod. That matters, not enough, but it matters. By noon, word starts moving again. Not rumors this time, decisions. People speak Joyce's name without lowering their voice. That's new, dangerous in its own way. By evening, the slick man hears. I don't know how he takes it, I don't ask. I only know what follows. He doesn't come to me. He doesn't issue statements. He doesn't pretend this was inevitable. He disappears. That's when the real danger starts. Men like him don't vanish out of shame. They vanish to reset, to find a quieter place, a softer audience, new faces that don't know the story yet. That's how cycles survive. I walked through Harlem that night feeling the weight of unfinished business settle into my bones. Joyce didn't ask for vengeance. She asked not to be cleaned up. And disappearing men love clean endings. At a corner near where it all began, I see fresh paper going up on a wall. Different colors, different words, same hunger underneath. A new name, a new venture, a new promise of wonder. I stand there reading it twice. The city breathes around me. And I understand something I don't like. This wasn't the end of a story. It was a chapter closing so another could start. Somewhere out there, the slick man is already looking at someone else the way he once looked at Joyce. And unless someone is watching, the chair will get filled again. The paper is still wet when I peel it off the wall. That means he's close. New ink, new promises, same shape of lie. Different neighborhood this time, not Harlem. Somewhere quieter, somewhere people don't know his face yet, don't know what he sounds like when he starts saying care instead of profit. I fold the poster and put it in my pocket, not as evidence, as a reminder. Joyce is buried 2 days later. No spectacle, no speeches that turn pain into polish, just a handful of people who knew what silence can cost when it lasts too long. When it's over, I don't linger. Grief is private, strategy isn't. By nightfall, I'm hearing names again. New intermediaries, fresh money. He's testing the water, seeing how far the story followed him. It followed far enough. I sit in a car across from a building that looks harmless if you don't know how to read it. Lights on. Curtains drawn. A chair visible through the window on the second floor. That chair stops me cold. Not because it's the same, because it doesn't need to be. A man steps into the light inside. Not him. Someone younger, eager, clean, an apprentice. That's when it clicks. The slick man didn't just disappear. He franchised. I feel something settle in my chest. Heavy, familiar. This isn't about one predator, it's about a system that learns. I start the car but don't drive away yet. Across the street, the upstairs light flicks off. Somebody is being told a story. Somebody is being promised safety. Somebody is being measured without knowing it. I grip the wheel. Joyce asked me not to let them clean it up. She didn't ask me to stop it forever. But now that I've seen the chair again, I don't know if walking away is still an option. Because once you see the pattern, you're either complicit or you become a problem. And men who turn into problems don't get quiet endings. They get watched, just like I'm watching now, waiting to see who steps into the light first. I don't move. That's the first rule when you spot a pattern repeating. You don't rush to break it, you watch it breathe. You learn who feeds it, who protects it, who thinks they're invisible because they're new. The building across the street exhales light from a side door. 2 men step out. Not guards, not yet, messengers. They talk fast, hands busy, eyes never still. That's training. The slick man isn't here, but his fingerprints are everywhere. I follow at a distance, not close enough to be remembered. Not far enough to miss a mistake. They stop at a cafe that stays open too late for coffee and too early for honesty. One goes inside, the other waits. I clock the waiting man. Cheap shoes. Good watch. That tells me who he's trying to impress. Inside the cafe, through the glass, I see papers slide across a table. I see a nod that costs someone more than they realize. This isn't a one-off, it's a rollout. I drive away before they finish. No need to see the end of a scene I already understand. By morning, I have confirmations, quiet ones, the kind that don't leave trails. He's setting up a circuit, different faces, same methods, same language, just softened. care, opportunity, protection. Those words should come with warnings. I sit alone and lay it out in my head piece by piece, where the money flows, who pretends not to notice, which doors will close if I knock too hard, too fast. That's the danger now. Not him, the space around him. If I pull too hard, the whole thing collapses, and when systems collapse, the innocent get buried with the guilty. There's a knock at my door, not expected, not casual. I open it to a man I haven't seen in years, gray at the temples, eyes sharp as ever. "You're stirring something," he says without greeting. "I know," I reply. "He's not alone," he continues. "Hasn't been for a long time." I nod, "Neither am I." He studies me. "You go any further," he says, "this stops being about one woman." I think of Joyce, of the chair, of the light switching off upstairs. "It already is," I say. He exhales slowly. "Then choose carefully," he warns. "Because once you make it visible, you can't control who comes running." He leaves before I answer. I close the door and stand there, weighing it. Exposure burns everything. Silence lets it grow. Outside, somewhere across the city, another light turns on behind another curtain, and someone else is being told a story they didn't ask for. The board is bigger now, and the next move won't just change one life. It'll decide how many get sacrificed before the truth is allowed to stay standing. Big boards make quiet men dangerous. That's when I stop thinking about him as a single problem and start seeing him as a network. Nerves, tendons, weak joints hidden under expensive language. You don't swing at the head first. You starve the body. I start with the places nobody brags about, the accountants who don't ask questions, the landlords who accept cash, the doctors who sign papers they didn't read closely enough. I don't threaten them. I remind them, a name here, a date there, a look that says I already know the rest. Doors don't slam, they drift closed. Money hesitates, appointments get rescheduled indefinitely. By the end of the week, 2 chairs sit empty where they shouldn't. 2 opportunities quietly dissolve. That's when he reacts, not directly, never directly. A fire inspection hits one of my fronts at dawn, clean, official, by the book. A rumor circulates that I'm overreaching, that I'm nostalgic, that I'm turning personal business into public theater. I smile when I hear that. It means he's nervous enough to talk. That night someone follows me, not well. Young, hungry, wants to prove something. I let him, 3 blocks, 4. An alley he thinks I didn't notice. When I turn, he freezes. "Wrong night," I tell him. He stammers something about a message, about misunderstandings. I step closer. "Tell him this," I say. "Joyce wasn't the end, she was the warning." He runs, good. Fear travels faster than orders. The next day, one of the satellite operations shuts down for renovations. Another loses its permit. Another suddenly can't get insurance. None of it traces back to me. That's important, because the slick man isn't stupid. He's looking for a villain to point at. I won't give him one. I visit Joyce's grave alone at dusk. No flowers, just presents. "I didn't forget," I tell the dirt. "And I didn't make you into a symbol." The wind moves through the grass like it's listening. Across the city, a meeting is happening without him. That's the real shift. When men start planning futures that don't include you, you're already in the past. By the end of the month, he reaches out through a channel he swore he'd never use. A neutral place. Neutral words. He wants to talk. That's not a threat. That's surrender pretending to be diplomacy. I agree. Because conversations like that don't end danger. They reveal where it's hiding. We sit across from each other again. Different room, same tension. "You win," he says quickly, too quickly. I don't respond. "I miscalculated," he continues. I can step back, shut it down. I study his face. "You can't," I say. "You don't own all of it anymore." That lands. He looks away. "You don't know what you've started," he says. I lean forward. "I know exactly," I reply. "That's why I'm still sitting here." He exhales. "What do you want?" He asks again. This time I answer. "I want it to stop," I say. "Not move, not rebrand, not restart somewhere quieter." He shakes his head. "That's not how this world works." I meet his eyes. "Then this world's about to learn," I say. We sit there, both understanding something final just passed between us. When I leave, I know the next phase won't be subtle. He's out of moves that look clean, which means the last one will be ugly. And ugly moves always leave witnesses whether the player wants them or not. Somewhere a chair waits. And this time it won't stay empty unless I make sure of it. Ugly moves don't come with warnings. They come with smoke. It starts small. Too small. A whisper that one of the shut-down locations reopened under a different name. Different paperwork. Same floor plan, same damn chair. He didn't stop, he rerouted. That tells me everything. I walk the block at night, hands in my pockets, listening to the rhythm. When a place is wrong, the street tells you before the people do. Steps sound rushed. Windows stay dark when they shouldn't. A man pretends to sweep the same patch of sidewalk for an hour. That's camouflage. I don't go in, not yet. I circle. 2 nights later, a kid approaches me. 15, maybe. Too thin. Eyes sharp from learning too fast. You the one looking for the chair? He asks. I don't answer. That's a yes, he says, nodding to himself. They said you'd be quiet. Who's they? I ask. He shrugs. People who don't want trouble. I kneel slightly so we're eye level. Then why are you bringing me trouble? I ask. He swallows. Because she cries, he says. That's it. That's the whole sentence. My jaw tightens. Who? I ask. He glances over his shoulder. The new one, he says. They say she's grateful, but she cries when the door shuts. I straighten. Where? I ask. He gives me an address I already half know. Then he runs. I don't follow him. I follow the truth. The building is quieter than it should be. No guards, no noise, confidence again. That's the cycle. I step inside. The stairs are narrow. The air is stale, familiar. At the top, the door is closed, unlocked. That's the insult. I push it open. The chair is there, occupied. Different woman, younger, eyes wide, learning too fast. She looks up at me like she doesn't know whether I'm danger or air. Are you with him? She asks. I shake my head. No, I say. I'm with what comes after. Her lips tremble. They said I was lucky, she whispers. I glance behind me, footsteps, more than one. I close the door slowly. This time there's no slick man, no speeches, just men who think they can finish this before anyone notices. I look at the chair, at the woman, at the door, and I realize something cold and sharp settle into place. If I walk out now, the cycle continues. If I stay, this stops being quiet. The handle turns, and I have exactly one move left. Before the room decides who leaves standing, the handle rattles once. Testing. I don't move. The woman in the chair grips the arms so tight her knuckles bleach white. She's breathing fast, shallow, like she's already apologizing for taking up air. Listen to me, I say softly, without turning. No matter what happens next, you don't speak unless I tell you to. She nods, hard, immediate. That tells me enough. She's been trained to obey fear. The door opens. 2 men step in, then a third. None of them smiling, none of them surprised. That's the dangerous part. Wrong address, one says, casual. You need to leave. I turn slowly. This room, I say, already has too many men in it. One of them laughs, nervous. The others don't. You think you're a hero, another asks. I tilt my head. No, I answer. I think you're employees. That hits harder than an insult, because it's true. The man closest to me steps forward, big, confident in his size. Men like that always believe their body is the argument. You don't understand, he says. This is business. I nod. That's what the last one said, I reply, before he started hiding. A flicker crosses his face. They know the name. They know the fallout. They just thought it wouldn't reach them. Who sent you? I ask. Silence. I step aside just enough so they can see the woman. She crying. I ask them, no answer. Hungry, I continue. The big one shifts. Sit down, he snaps. I don't. I take one step closer instead. You still have time, I say, to walk out, to tell him this didn't work. That's mercy. They don't take it. The first swing comes fast, sloppy. I absorb it, pivot, let momentum do the work. The room explodes into noise, wood scraping, breath knocked loose, curses breaking discipline. I don't chase, I don't rage, I end things. When it's quiet again, 2 men are on the floor deciding whether they can still move. One is gone already, shoes pounding down the stairs, fear doing what orders couldn't. I lock the door, then I turn to the woman. It's over, I tell her. She stares at the men on the floor. For them, she whispers. Yes, I say, for you it's beginning. I lift the chair. Carry it out myself this time, not because she needs it, because she shouldn't have to touch it again. Outside, the night feels cleaner. She squints like the dark hurts her eyes. "They'll come back," she says. "Not tonight," I answer, "and not the same way." I get her into a car already waiting. No questions, no papers. Before the door closes, she looks at me. "Why you doing this?" she asks. I think of Joyce, of the chair, of silence pretending to be peace. "Because someone taught me," I say, "that letting it repeat is the real crime." The car pulls away. I stay because I know what's coming. By morning, the story will break. Not clean, not kind, violence, interference, names whispered where they shouldn't be. And somewhere the slick man will realize the truth he's been running from. This didn't spread because of greed, it spread because nobody stopped it the first time. Now he's out of apprentices, out of rooms, out of quiet. And the next time he moves, it won't be in the shadows. It'll be in the open, where the whole city can finally see him for what he is. And when that happens, there won't be a chair left to hide behind. Morning doesn't forgive anything, it just shows it clearer. By sunrise, the block is taped off. Not officially, not with badges, with looks. With people standing a little too still, a little too alert, pretending they're waiting for buses that aren't coming. The building I left last night is empty now, too empty, cleaned fast. That tells me he's scared again. Scared men rush. Rushed men make mistakes. I don't go home. I never do when the city starts holding its breath. I walk instead, letting the noise wash over me. Radios buzz with half-stories. Newspapers argue with themselves. Nobody says names yet, but they're circling them. That's when my phone rings. No greeting, no warning. "You crossed a line," a voice says. Older. Calm, not the slick man, that's new. "I erased a stain," I reply. "Big difference." A pause, respectful almost. "You're forcing hands," the voice says. "People who don't like to be seen." I stop walking. "Then they should have stayed clean," I answer. Another pause. "You think this ends with him," the voice continues. "It doesn't. He was useful, replaceable." That's the truth I didn't want confirmed. I lean against a brick wall, still warm from the sun. "Then why call me?" I ask. "Because," the voice says, "you've become inconvenient." I smile faintly. That's usually how it starts. The line clicks dead. No threats, no instructions, just information. I stand there a moment longer, feeling the weight shift again. Bigger now, wider. Joyce didn't just break one cage. She cracked a system that doesn't like daylight. Across the street, a man watches me too closely. Pretends to tie his shoe when I look back. I let him. Letting someone watch you is a message. I turn the corner and disappear into the flow, already adjusting the board in my head. Because now it isn't about chairs. It isn't even about one woman. It's about who gets to decide what's acceptable. When money and silence shake hands, and someone just decided, "I don't belong in the room anymore." That's fine, because men who don't belong are the hardest ones to remove, and this game is nowhere near finished. When you become inconvenient, the city starts testing you, not all at once, piece by piece. A door that used to open doesn't. A call that used to return goes dead. A friend asks questions they never asked before. That's how pressure works when it's smart. I feel it by midday. A man I trust cancels lunch without explanation. Another tells me gently that my name's being used in rooms I don't enter. Used like a warning sign, I don't correct it. Warnings keep people honest. That night I change where I sleep. Not because I'm afraid, but because routine is a luxury, and luxury gets you boxed in. From a window I don't own, I watch the city do what it always does. Eat stories, spit out lessons, pretend nothing's connected. Across town, the slick man resurfaces, not publicly, strategically. A photo circulates. Him shaking hands with someone important, smiles, clean suits, rebranding in real time. He's trying to climb out through legitimacy. That's dangerous. Legitimacy forgives things muscle never could. I know then what the next phase is. Exposure won't be enough. He's already priced that in. The next move has to change incentives. Make it cost more to protect him than to let him fall. That takes patience. And leverage. I start making calls I never wanted to make. People who owe favors they pretend they forgot. People who don't like him but like stability more. I don't ask them to choose sides. I ask them questions. What happens if this comes out? Who takes the hit if it does? Who benefits if he disappears quietly? Questions are cleaner than accusations. By the end of the week, the answers start aligning. He's being protected because he knows where money slept. If that knowledge moves, protection becomes liability. That's the crack. I sit alone one night, city humming outside, and I think of Joyce again, of her saying not to clean it up. This isn't clean. This is necessary. I arrange one meeting, just one. Neutral ground, no witnesses who matter, no weapons that show. He arrives late, thinner, eyes harder. You don't quit, he says. Neither did she, I reply. He flinches, just a fraction. You think you're righteous, he sneers. You think this makes you better. I shake my head. No, I say, it makes me responsible. He leans back. They won't let you win, he says. You're shaking the wrong pillars. I lean forward. Then they should have picked a sturdier foundation, I tell him. Silence stretches. You release what you know, I continue. Every ledger, every name, every root. He laughs bitter, and sign my death warrant. No, I say, your retirement. He stares at me, searching for the lie. There's no safe ending for men like me, he says. I meet his gaze. There never was, I reply. You just pretended there was. He looks away. When he speaks again, his voice is low. If I do this, he says, they'll come for you. I nod once. They already are. That's when he understands, not fear, finality. The meeting ends without a handshake. When I step back into the street, I know something irreversible just started rolling. The city doesn't know it yet, but soon a lot of powerful people are going to wake up uncomfortable. And when that happens, they won't be asking who started it, they'll be asking, who's going to survive it? Things don't explode right away, they leak. First, it's a document that shouldn't exist, passed hand to hand like contraband. Numbers, dates, names people only whispered before. Nobody claims it, nobody denies it either. Then another one surfaces, and another. By the third, the silence breaks. Phones light up in the middle of the night. Meetings get canceled without explanation. Men who used to sit comfortably start checking exits before they sit down. That's when I know he talked. Not out of courage, out of survival. The slick man disappears again, this time for real. No sightings, no smiles, no staged photographs, just absence where confidence used to live. Absence is loud. The city reacts the only way it knows how, by pretending this was always inevitable. He flew too close, they say. Bad judgment, they say. Unfortunate, they say. Nobody mentions Joyce. I do, quietly, to the right people at the right time. I let her name travel with the facts, not as decoration, as context. That's what hurts them, because now every line item has a weight attached to it. Every signature echoes with a face, a chair, a room that smelled wrong. I get another call, different voice, higher up. This needs to stop, the voice says. You've made your point. I look out over the city. No, I reply, I made hers. A pause. You're pushing past what's acceptable, the voice warns. I smile slow. So did he, I say, for a long time. The line goes dead. After that, things accelerate. A resignation framed as personal reasons. An investigation announced with careful language. A charity dissolved quietly. Assets frozen pending review. That's cleanup, not justice, but it's movement. And movement changes gravity. One night walking alone, I realize I'm not being followed anymore. That's not relief, that's recalculation. The city has decided something, not about right or wrong, about risk. I stop at a corner and look up at a building under renovation. Scaffolding, plastic sheeting, workers gone for the night. On the second floor, through a gap, I see an empty room, no chair, just space. I stand there longer than necessary. This is how it ends sometimes. Not with applause, with absence. The slick man won't come back. Not here, not like before. He'll live smaller, quieter, always looking over his shoulder, wondering which silence is watching him. That's not redemption, but it's consequence. I turn away and keep walking, because the city doesn't need me standing still. It needs memory, and someone willing to carry it forward. When the lights come back on, and everyone pretends they don't remember how dark it got, memory is heavier than guilt. Guilt fades. Memory stays sharp, weeks pass, then months. The city smooths over the rough spots like it always does. New businesses open. New faces claim old territory. People stop asking questions because questions make you late for dinner. But memory doesn't care about schedules. I feel it when I walk certain blocks. When conversations pause just a second too long. When someone says a name and then corrects themselves, like the first version tasted wrong. Joyce's name still moves. Not fast. Not loud, but it moves. That's enough. I think it's over. That's my mistake. One night I find an envelope under my door. No stamp, no return. That means it didn't travel far, or it traveled through hands that don't exist on paper. Inside, a single photograph, a chair. Not the same one, not even the same room, but close enough to make my jaw tight. On the back, 4 words written careful and neat. You can't watch everything. I sit with that for a long time. This isn't him. This is what comes after men like him. The ones who learned, the ones who adjusted, the ones who realized the problem wasn't the crime, it was getting seen. I fold the photo and put it away. Outside, the city hums, comfortable again, confident in its forgetting. That's when danger thrives. I don't know where the chair is. I don't know who's sitting in it, but I know one thing for sure. Someone is testing whether I meant what I started, and somewhere right now. A door is being locked from the outside. I don't burn the photo, that's what they expect. Instead, I memorize it, every shadow, every angle. The way the light avoids the corners like it knows something bad waits there. Then I destroy it. Not in one piece. In pieces small enough to lose their meaning if someone goes looking. You can't watch everything. That's not a warning. That's an invitation. I step back into motion. Quiet motion. The kind that doesn't announce itself with calls or meetings. I stop asking questions that sound like questions. I start listening for answers people don't realize they're giving. Patterns again. Always patterns. The chair in the photo isn't old. The screws are new. The wood hasn't learned weight yet. That tells me it's not sentimental, it's efficient. This isn't nostalgia, it's an upgrade. I trace supply lines, furniture makers, rental spaces, temporary permits, places that reset every few weeks so nothing smells long enough to attract attention. Someone learned from the last time. That means they learned from Joyce, which means she mattered more than they'll ever admit. 3 days later, I hear about a wellness demonstration scheduled in a borrowed hall under a different name. No posters. No crowds, invite-only curiosity, the kind that makes educated people feel insulated from responsibility. I don't go, not yet. I send someone else. He comes back pale. They call it care, he says. They call it observation. And the chair, I ask, he nods. There's someone in it, he says. They don't look broken yet. Yet that word sits between my ribs. I walk alone that night, weighing the only choice that matters now. If I move too early, they scatter again. If I wait too long, someone pays for my patience. That's the trap they're setting, forcing me to choose which sin I can live with. I stop at an intersection and look both ways even though the street is empty. I think of Joyce, of her saying, don't let them clean it up. This isn't cleanup anymore. This is inheritance. Somewhere nearby, a building's lights click on one by one, too orderly, too rehearsed. A rehearsal means a performance is coming. And if I step into it, this stops being a warning story and becomes a public reckoning. I turn down a side street, decisions settling heavy and irreversible, because once you walk into the room where the chair waits again, you don't get to walk out pretending you're just a witness. I don't sleep, not because I can't, because sleep would mean postponing the choice, and choices like this don't wait politely. By dawn, I know where the hall is, not the address, the type of place. Old civic building, recently repainted, rented under a name that sounds charitable enough to lower defenses. The kind of room that smells like disinfectant and good intentions. That's where they always hide. I walk in after noon, dressed plain, carrying nothing that looks like purpose. Nobody stops me. That's intentional. They want witnesses who think they wandered in on something harmless. Inside, the chairs are arranged neatly. Rows, clean sightlines, a table up front with pamphlets stacked like absolution. And there it is, The chair, centered, lit just enough, occupied a man this time, middle-aged, hands folded like he's waiting for instructions, eyes darting but controlled. He's been coached, promised dignity in exchange for compliance. A woman in a white coat speaks softly to a small group. "We're observing adaptive responses," she says. "Voluntary participation." Voluntary is doing a lot of work in that sentence. I take a seat in the back. I listen. They talk about care, about monitoring, about resilience. They use words that make harm sound temporary, almost educational. Nobody mentions profit. Nobody mentions limits. I watch the man in the chair. His foot taps once, then stills when someone notices. He's learning already. That's when I stand, not abruptly, not dramatically, just enough to break the rhythm. "Question," I say, heads turn, mild annoyance, curiosity. "Yes." The woman replies, polite. "How long does it last?" I ask. She smiles. "As long as it needs to," she says. I nod. "And who decides when it's needed?" I continue. Her smile tightens. "Our team," she says, "based on outcomes." "Whose outcomes?" I ask. A murmur ripples. I walk forward a few steps, still calm. "Because I've seen this model before," I say. "Different language, same math." Someone shifts in their seat. "This isn't a forum," the woman says. I look past her directly at the man in the chair. "Did they tell you what happens if you want to leave?" I ask him. He hesitates. That's the answer. The woman steps between us. "This session is concluded," she says sharply. "Too late. People are already watching differently now. Not entertained, alert." I turn to the room. "You don't have to clap," I say. "You don't even have to agree. Just remember what you saw." I step back, letting the silence stretch. Then I leave. I don't free him, not yet. Because now the room has witnesses who weren't supposed to feel implicated. And once that seed is planted, it spreads faster than any warning I could give. Outside, the city breathes like nothing happened. But I know better. They'll move him tonight. They always do. And when they do, they'll be careful. Which means they'll make one mistake they can't afford. They'll leave a trail. And this time, I won't be walking in alone. Careful men leave thinner trails, but they always leave one. By nightfall, the hall is dark again, chairs stacked, pamphlets gone. The kind of cleanup that says, "We were never here." That's a lie the street doesn't respect. I don't follow the man in the chair. I follow the people who pretended not to notice him. A woman who left early, jaw tight. A man who asked too many questions after the session ended. A driver who waited too long with the engine running. They don't know they're connected. That's the beauty of it. I let the city stitch the map for me. By midnight, I have the next address. Not permanent, temporary. Always temporary now. Warehouses, borrowed floors, rooms meant to forget themselves once emptied. I don't go in first. That's how men get remembered. I wait. And sure enough, just after 2, a van pulls up without headlights. The back doors open like a mouth that doesn't want witnesses. The man from the chair steps out slowly, shoulders hunched, flanked by 2 people speaking softly like nurses, hands firm like handlers. He looks smaller already. That doesn't sit right with me. I don't move until the van pulls away, then I walk. Inside the building, the air is cold and unfinished. Concrete floors, temporary lights humming. The kind of place you don't scream in because you don't expect anyone to hear you. I hear voices ahead. Low, efficient. "Said he'd be cooperative," someone says. "He always is at first," another replies. That's the line. I step into the light. They freeze, 4 of them, 2 coats, 2 muscles, no slick man, just infrastructure. I don't raise my voice. "You're done," I say. One of them laughs reflexively. He regrets it immediately. "You don't get to." "I already did," I interrupt. "You just haven't caught up yet." I step forward once. Behind me, footsteps answer. More than mine. That's when their faces change. Not fear, calculation failing. Because they finally understand this isn't one man walking into a room. It's the room walking back. The man from the chair looks at me, eyes wide. "You came back," he says. I nod. "I said remember," I reply. "Not endure." Someone reaches for a phone. I shake my head. "Bad idea," I say calmly. They hesitate. That's the second mistake. Because hesitation means they're still pretending this is negotiable. It is. I turn to the man. "Can you walk?" I ask. He nods, barely. "That's enough," I say. He steps toward me. No one stops him, they know better now. As we leave, one of the handlers speaks, voice tight. "This doesn't end it," he says. I stop and look back. "No," I agree. "It ends you being quiet about it." Outside, the night air feels heavier, honest. The man breathes like he's learning how again. "You got a name?" I ask. He tells me. I repeat it, out loud. That matters. Behind us, the building stands empty already, pretending nothing important happened there. But I know something they don't. This time the chair didn't disappear. It got witnessed. And that changes the math for everyone who still thinks silence is protection. Because now the story isn't about rescue, it's about exposure. And exposure doesn't ask permission before it spreads. Exposure has a sound, it's not loud. It's a low crack like ice giving way under weight that pretended it wasn't there. By morning, the name I repeated is being repeated by others. Quietly, carefully, but out loud. That's the shift. The man I walked out last night is somewhere safe now. Not comfortable. Safe is different. Safe means nobody's asking him to perform. Nobody's telling him to sit still while they decide what he's worth. He keeps asking the same question. Why me? I don't answer it, because the truth would scare him more than the silence. It wasn't random, it was convenient. And convenience is the most dangerous reason anyone ever gets chosen. Across the city, phones start ringing again. Not frantic this time. Strategic. Damage control voices. People asking how much I know without ever asking directly. I give them space to talk themselves into mistakes. By afternoon, a lawyer issues a statement on behalf of an organization that didn't exist last month and won't exist next week. Words like misunderstanding and isolated incident get stretched thin trying to cover a pattern. They don't mention chairs. They never do. That night, someone leaves a message where I'll hear it. Not a threat. A reminder. This can still be handled. That's what men say when they're afraid of being seen handling things. I walk past the old hall again. Doors locked. Windows dark. A new notice taped up claiming renovations. I tear it down and keep walking. The city feels different now. Not safer, aware. That's worse for people who rely on nobody looking too close. Somewhere, a meeting is happening without the people who used to control it. Decisions are being made with my name in the room even when I'm not. I don't enjoy that. Power like that is temporary, but memory sticks. I stop at a corner where traffic hesitates, lights blinking red and yellow like they can't decide. That's when I feel it. Not eyes. Wait. The sense that the board just expanded again. This wasn't a single operation. It never was. It was a test. And now they're adjusting. Because they've learned something important. I won't stay quiet. Which means the next move won't be subtle. It'll be decisive, public, and meant to remind everyone watching what happens when someone refuses to play along. I breathe in slow, steady, because whatever they're planning, they're about to find out something else too. I don't need to watch everything. I just need to show up once. When it matters most, and that moment is getting close. Public moves are loud on purpose. They don't want truth, they want fear. I feel it before I see it. The city stiffens like it's bracing for a hit it already knows is coming. Sirens scream longer than necessary. Cameras show up early like they were invited. That's when the notice spreads, a press conference. Midday, neutral location, too clean, too fast. They're going to frame this, not as exposure, not as exploitation, as me. A lone agitator. A fixer who went too far. A man stirring panic where there was none. That's the angle, always is. I don't rush to stop it, I prepare to interrupt it. When I arrive, the room is packed, reporters hungry, officials polished, faces that know how to look concerned without committing to anything. At the front, a man I've never met steps up to the podium. That's the trick, distance. He speaks carefully, talks about safety, about rogue actors, about unauthorized interference in medical initiatives. He never says my name, he doesn't have to. I wait until he finishes, until the applause starts. That's when I step forward, not aggressive, not dramatic, just present. Before you leave, I say, every head turns. The man at the podium freezes for half a second. That half second tells me everything. I have a question, I continue, about the initiative you're defending. He nods forced. Of course, he says. I hold up a single sheet of paper. Who approved this location? I ask, he blinks. That's not public information. I nod. And who signed off on restricting participants from leaving? I ask, a murmur ripples. I don't believe that occurred, he says carefully. I look at the room. Then we should ask him, I say, the doors at the back open. The man from the chair walks in, alive, upright, unscripted. The room exhales like it's been punched. I don't look at the podium, I look at the cameras. This is what it looks like, I say calmly, when people mistake silence for consent. The man at the podium stammers now, papers shuffle, someone whispers urgently, too late. The man speaks, not rehearsed, not polished, real, and real cuts through spin like wire through silk. By the time security remembers its job, the story is already loose, not controlled, not owned, loose. As I step back, letting the room collapse into noise, I feel it settle. This wasn't exposure, this was ignition. Because now it's not about me. It's about everyone who sat in a chair and was told to be grateful for it. And somewhere behind the scenes, someone is deciding whether to double down or disappear. Either way, the game just crossed a line it can't walk back from, and the next consequence won't come quietly. They don't come for me. That's how I know they learned. Instead, they touch the edges, the places I don't guard loud because I never had to before. It starts with a call that doesn't reach me in time. A man I trust getting stopped for something that never used to matter, paperwork, zoning, permits suddenly remembered after years of being ignored, pressure without fingerprints. Then the message arrives, not written, not spoken, demonstrated. A building I use but don't own gets shut down before sunrise, doors sealed, notices posted. Temporary. That word again. Temporary has ruined more lives than permanent ever did. By noon, someone leaks a story. Not about chairs, not about the rooms, about me. They paint it careful, respectful, almost sympathetic. A fixer with a personal vendetta. A man haunted by past associations. Someone who confuses influence with authority. They don't accuse, they suggest. That's smarter. I sit with it, letting the wave pass over me. Because waves tell you where the current is strongest. And then they make the mistake I was waiting for. They rush. A woman I know, quiet, reliable, never part of the noise, gets visited, not threatened, questioned. The kind of questions meant to make someone doubt their own safety. She tells me everything. That night I walk alone through a part of the city that doesn't pretend to be gentle. No entourage, no signals, just me and the street. They want me reactive. They want me loud, they want me wrong. Instead, I go still. Because now I see the real play. They're not trying to win. They're trying to isolate, make me radioactive, untouchable, a lesson instead of a person. That only works if I'm alone. I stop under a streetlight that flickers like it's thinking about quitting. Across the street, a car idles too long, engine on, lights off. Someone inside pretending patience. I don't cross, I don't run, I wait. Because if they've decided tonight is the night to remind me how this city really works, then the next move won't belong to them anymore. It'll belong to whoever steps out of that car first. The car door opens slow, that's respect or fear. Hard to tell which until it's too late. A man steps out alone. No jacket, no weapon showing, hands visible. He's not here to fight, he's here to measure. You made it noisy, he says, stopping just outside the light. I made it honest, I reply. He nods once like he's expected that answer all night. They're done pushing, he says. It costs too much now. I don't move. And you, I ask, he exhales. I'm here to tell you how this ends. That always means it already has. They'll bury the programs, he continues. Rename the money, restructure the faces. They'll say reforms were coming anyway. I nod, that's predictable. And Joyce? I ask, he hesitates, that's new. She won't be forgotten, he says carefully. Not officially. Official memory is a shallow grave, but I don't say that. And the chairs? I ask, he looks away. Gone, he says, not reused. That matters, not enough, but it matters. And me? I ask, he looks back. You walk, he says, but you don't climb, you don't expand, you don't become a banner. I smile slightly. I never wanted to, I say. He studies me, then nods. That's why this works. He steps back toward the car. Before he gets in, he pauses. You know, he says, this doesn't change the world. I look past him at the city, still breathing, still hungry. No, I say, it just interrupts it. He leaves, the car disappears. The street goes back to pretending it didn't witness anything important. Weeks pass. Life resumes its rhythm, softer now, quieter, like a neighborhood after a storm that didn't make the papers. I see the man from the chair once more across a crowded street, walking on his own. No handlers, no script. He nods at me. I nod back. That's it. No speeches. No closure scenes. Joyce's name still travels in classrooms, in small conversations. In the pause people take before clapping at the wrong moment. That's legacy, not statues, not credits, awareness. I keep moving through the city the way I always have. Calm, measured, watching the board because the game doesn't end, it just learns. And so do I, but now, somewhere deep in the machinery of this place, there's a memory that wasn't there before. A hesitation, a question, a chair that stayed empty long enough for people to notice. And sometimes in cities like this, that's enough to change who moves next.